one. Looks like they are actually going to run right into each other as well. CDUB, though, of course, going to have that high ground advantage. American Goons looking to try and sneak up behind them by the looks of it. And they actually do get away with it for now. Wards down, they'll see Double King around that tree line, and he's a great target to aim for first. You're going to have the Gale Slow into the concussive shot rather soon here against Double King, and it seems like he is as good as set to die, though they do find at least Lil Nick as a trade. But First Blood is going to go the way of Esker's Jubei. Also looking to go down here, will drop to Mark. So ultimately a 2-for-1 trade in the favor of CDUB, but First Blood is going to go the way of American Goons. So you should be pretty happy if you're this Min Timbersaw having the start you've had. You'll bring out a magic wand pretty much immediately. No hesitation. Let's get the magic wand out here against whoever he's laning against, which should be the Pangolier.
Let's go, man. That's my guy right there.
3 Batterins the wave CDUB as well. In fact, they might even find a 4th. Isla's rushing towards it, and he's got it. 4 Batterins now to CDUB. Boris is trying to get away. Does cop a fair bit of damage here from Sanctified and Isla. Will eventually be able to get out. To start off with the mid lane, you're going to have Mark there against Esk. Esk already again having a pretty big start with the bonus gold. Picking up the magic wand here against Mark. So all that spell spam going to be very effective here for the Timbersaw. Because Mark shouldn't have too difficult of a time against the Timber, but it's also not the easiest matchup. You're going to try and duke out that Whirling Death quite a bit. It should be a fairly even mid lane affair, I would argue, here between these two teams. Don't think Esk should have the craziest time, but he should certainly have a slight advantage, at the very least, against the Pangolier. Let's see if Mark can kind of just outplay Esk here in the mid lane. This is going to be quite dangerous with this Whirling Death damage, and probably the chains to come out at some point here for Esk as well. Because you do have the side lanes as well. Jubei and Boris going to be up at top lane against Isla and Sanctified. The classic Tidehunter Rubik lane is what we've got here for CDUB. And again, Boris seems to be struggling quite a bit already, having to strength morph quite a bit to survive through the damage that was coming in from CDUB. Although Disruptor is usually a really good support to have in terms of trading harassment, against Tide Rubik, it's still really challenging. So you can just get run down quite easily if you overextend it. Isla, he's going to move in right here, right now. Sanctified backing off a little bit. He's playing very defensively on the Rubik. As you can see, Jubei, if he gets gushed once, he's going to lose three quarters of his HP very, very quickly. As the final lane is going to be bot lane, Giant and Lil Nick going to be up against Duster and, of course, Double King, which arguably should also be a decently strong lane here for CDUB because they do have Decrepify into Blood Ride. But then you do also have Gale into the concussive shot of Giant here down this bot lane for the Goons. So it really can go either way here in this bottom lane, as Sanctified top lane does end up securing Jubei now. Jubei ends up going down. Duster almost going down a bottom lane, but does barely manage to run towards the tier 1 tower and survive. But so far, great news for CDUB. 3-1 already. You see Jubei going down top lane. It probably will happen again because this Tide Ruby can be quite obnoxious to have to play against. The Sanctified's already got a Blood Grenade ready for it, so whenever Jubei does overstep, it should be a fairly easy process here for CDUB to just deal with this Disruptor. Luckily, at the very least, Isla is quite low on mana, so can't do too much in the way of keeping Jubei away. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Duster again. He chased down here on the Pugna, but does manage to get himself out. But this Pugna not having the greatest time we've ever seen. Quite a bit of a struggle here on the this green hero, as Giant is not leaving him alone, but Double King is going to intervene and make sure he does get away. Top lane, Boris again, dropping very, very low, but Isla now the one on the run. Jubei, doesn't quite have enough yet, and won't have enough in the end to get the kill. In fact, Jubei is the one to go down. Sanctified claiming his life for a second time already this game. Sure, I mean, you get Isla really low, but the problem is he's got to ring a health up anyway. So he's just going to heal up through it, slowly but surely. And while Jubei's down, Boris is just getting no farm. He'll get a Tango for his trouble. He'll get a Salve for his trouble. In the meantime, bottom lane, Duster ends up fighting Lil Nick, so now the Venomancer's gone. 5-1 already for CDUB. Top lane again, Isla, he is going to drop this time. That's good news for the American Goons. The Ring of Health region not providing quite enough for the Tide. Will eventually just overextend and get dropped here by American Goons, but it just feels like every single lane has gone the way of CDUB. Perhaps the mid lane's the only one that isn't an outright win for CDUB here, as it's quite even between the two heroes, but certainly a pretty rough start here. Is now Giant again, top, or rather bottom lane, going to find himself in danger. Luckily, he will not get caught by the Blood Riot damage, so he is going to survive through it, but now the Skywrath needs to back to the fountain. Not able to stick around anymore with this double combination of Decrepify Blood Riot. Meanwhile, top lane, Jubei again gonna drop. He's died 4 times already on the Disruptor, 5 minutes in. Pretty tough position. No, I don't quite blame Jubei, again, considering they are up against the Tide Rubik. It's a pretty rough lane to go against as a position 5. But the man just cannot catch a break, and I think he's going to be forced to bring even more regen to Boris. This might be the 3rd or 4th salve that Jubei's been forced to buy, so Boris can remain in the lane. For now, he'll at least just give him a Tango. But just the amount of regen this Disruptor's been forced to buy here for the Morphling does not seem like a very fun time for him. As we are going to be approaching the 6-minute power rune timings now. S going to try and fight for it. Mark's going to be there as well. Jubei does show up. Giant's the one to actually just run towards the regen rune that is there. Sanctified. In a pretty big amount of trouble here. Going to try and run. Brody's S does not have chains available. We'll have enough for the Chakram Whirling Death. Meanwhile, Lil Nick ends up going down again bottom lane. So, the thing is, Giant did leave to secure the regen rune for Esk, which is obviously super important. But in the process, Lil Nick does get caught out by the Decrep into the Blood Riot, and he is going to go down. The Venomancer, 3rd death of the game for him. Not really having a game so far, just sitting at level 4. With the way this game's going, like this Bloodseeker is going to be quite scary. Top of the CS board already, almost level 6. And once that ruptures up like this early on, it's going to be very painful for Lil Nick to try and have to play against. Jubei. Kinetic Field is there to hold down Isla. S going to show up with the Whirling Death, but you do have the Rolling Thunder coming in from Mark, trying to chase down the Morphling. Problem is, Isla is still being focused here by Esk, but now the rotations are in. Esk is down. Jubei going to try to get himself out, but Mark will pick up a double kill in a fantastic rotation on the Pango. And this whole time, Isla, he remains alive. In fact, now Boris is in trouble. Boris seeing his whole team go down. Now he's gone as well. Oh, even Double King rotated just in case they needed it. Mind you, they didn't need it. But even he showed up. He's level 6 already on the Bloodseeker. At least Lil Nick is about to get to level 6 on his own as well on the Venomancer, but you're playing against the rupture damage now of the Bloodseeker. It's going to be pretty tough. If you get ruptured up, there's no escape for him. He's got the TP at the very least, but one stun will ruin all that pretty damn quickly. And by the way, update, Isla does have a Meteor Hammer now, so he does go for that Meteor Hammer build-up. This build-up does still work very effectively with the Tide because it gives him a nice way of pressuring these towers. And he's one of the heroes in Dota that can literally just stand in front of a tier 2 tower using Meteor Hammer without being so afraid of dying to a rotation because it's just so damn tanky. It's now Dire Jungle. Giant's going to get caught here. Netherblast's going to connect. It's just so much damage on Giant. We'll eat the Fairy Fire to survive a little bit longer, but not for quite much longer as Duster. It's going to be chased by Esk for a moment, but Esk just gives up on that chase altogether. Just the confidence from CDUB. Still chasing Boris in front of his tier 2 tower. Just knowing they can't really be contested right now because they've got 4 heroes up top. I mean, this is just atrocious for American Goons to have to try and play against.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And Isla's not leaving. He bought the Meteor Hammer for a reason. He's just going to keep pressuring this tier 2 top tower. Boris, they know he's there somewhere. He's going to show up again here in the Morph, but rotations are incoming again. Meteor Hammer, not going to land on the Morph. We'll just go into the tier 2 tower. Duster was setting up just in case they were able to initiate. They don't quite get there, but they are fully intending on making sure Boris does not have a game on the Morphling. On the other hand of things, Double King, like you look at his net worth in comparison, almost 1.5k net worth ahead on the Bloodseeker, just a huge start for him. This top lane again, a big group up happening here from CDUB, and they are still just pushing the top tier 2. And this is horrific for American Goons because they don't have any gameplay against it. With this draft, all they can do right now is just split push and kind of try and keep up here with the side of CDUB, who are clearly ahead. Problem is, losing this top tier 2 tower this early, it removes so much farming area for Boris and the Morphling. As mid lane now, Esk can get ruptured up. Double King's rotated, though a nice glimpse away from Jubei, gonna make sure they don't have that Bloodseeker. Chains out from the Timber, but Esk is gone. The rupture just lasting way too long. And that's him in Timbersaw. Like, he was the guy having the best time on the team. Just getting deleted with 1 rupture. See it up, they've given up on the top tier 2 tower. Seems like they're gonna focus down the mid tier 1 instead. I mean, why the hell not? And immediately after going after the tier 1 tower, Isla and the rest of the squad are just moving up top again. They'll let Mark finish off the work here in the mid tier 1. Pings were immediately out onto the top tier 2 tower. Smokes are there from CDUB, so they're going to head up north and see if they can find Boris. And Boris right now, he's only got 700 HP. He isn't fully strength morphed in any way whatsoever. As Boris going to go wait for a waveform, but the Ravage is out. He got the strength morph in time. So he's not quite in trouble. TP away is going to be enough as well. CDUB, they do waste their Ravage. Very quick reaction speed from Boris, realizing they probably were around the area. It's a pretty big opportunity now for American Goons to get some farm in with the time they have, knowing Ravage is down. Problem is, Duster is still just watching Boris. Scan is out. Boris, or rather Duster, reveals himself with the Nether Blast. Hello, John.
12 to 3 start for CDUB. And it's looking pretty rough. Give me a quick summary here, Mike, to work with.
They lost all their lanes, John.
Very nice.
Well, apart from mid lane, Esk did even out in the mid lane, but bottom lane was a shambles. Top lane was an absolute shambles. And, well, now, like, at least they do just pick off Mark on the Pangolier, who was playing very greedy up in mid lane. But they have not left Boris alone this whole time. Boris actually waveforming right into Isla, trying to stop him from going for the Meteor Hammer. And this is all they've been doing, CDUB. Like, they got this early Meteor Hammer on Tide, and they've just been pushing the top tier 2 tower the whole time. And they've almost got it too.
And there's some pressure on CDUB to play fast for sure. You don't want to try to force a long game up against the Morphling here. It does feel like that is not a matchup that the Bloodseeker feels too comfy in. You do have, again, some way of team fighting your way back, as we've seen with some of the Ravages coming out from Isla. But the pressure is there to play fast, because even a 2k lead at this point, if it doesn't grow, it feels awful.
The Sanctified looks like he's going to go down now, so American Goons finally ready to fight back. Boris, he can't really be left behind like this, but it seems like that's exactly what's going to happen. Goons still hanging around for a little bit longer, but the morph has died. Boris is down as they'll try to aim down Duster. Duster proving to be very tanky with the life drain, is going to survive. Now Giant being the one hunted. And Double King will have his way with him eventually. Another kill for the Bloodseeker. And that'll be the top tier 2 tower gone now. Isla just needs to hit it one more time with the Meteor Hammer. and it's as good as down.
And they win that fight without the Ravage as well. It's still on cooldown from Isla. When that breaks out, just having enough to burn through the mana for the Strength Morph here on Boris. Not the biggest pool of mana just yet, not the most stats in the Morphling, so still very susceptible to this tempo coming out from the side of CDUB. And CDUB, it's a pretty scrappy fight to be sure. It's a little bit awkward coming into it, but they managed to make it work. The coordination not quite there for the side of the American Goons to really try to look for that backline. They've got to catch that backline. You've got to take Duster out of the picture. The Nether Ward and the Life Drain is just doing a lot of work, along with a spam on the Nether Blast. Like it makes it very tough for Boris to just stand there, try to shift up, try to survive. The Manta will help rectify a couple of issues in control. You're going to need way more. I think your timing now on the Morphling side are going to be the Ags or the Scotty after that Manta. Once you have more stats to play with, a bigger mana pool to have for your attribute shift ready, that's when things can feel a lot better. And that's some time they need to stall out for. The farm on board. I mean, he's bottom net worth to some Morphling. That's never a good sign when you're on that +1, and it's particularly bad for a Morph. He can farm up quickly, but I don't think you and I have ever seen a bottom net worth Morph in a very long time, Mike. It's been a while since we've had this rough of a start for that safe lane.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they were up against a tied Rubik, so Jabay, I think, died like 5 times in the laning stage, and it just made it so there was no space for the farm of the Morphling. It's just the classic tied Rubik. Like, it's just such a strong laning phase, even now, with that combination. They could just not answer it at all. The CDUB are looking to head down bottom lane. They know Boris will probably be hanging around that area somewhere. And Boris can't really farm the top area of the map comfortably any longer. A very nice scan out here from CDUB. Boris still underneath that scan. They just need the Tide to land a decent Ravage here to allow the kill onto Boris. Lil Nick going to reveal himself with the Plague Wards, but does back himself out of there just fine. They will also get the Morphling up, but Boris needs to be hitting creeps right now. Does not want to be running around the map trying to avoid CDUB if he can avoid it. Because this gap between the Bloodseeker and the Morphling in terms of net worth is getting bigger and bigger. Double King is getting to the point where the BKB is going to be up. And that's going to be a huge timing for him. So they are going to try and jump him now. Top lane, Static Storm was dropped, Mystic Flare is there as well. He's trying to heal up off the creep wave with the Thirst, but the Glyph is going to be there. The Glyph will ensure that he cannot regen any longer. So a very nice pickup here between Jabay and Giant.
Yeah, they make it work. They hit him right before that BKB timing. Pretty heads up from Double King to just look for a little bit of CS to try to get that thirst going, but again, the fourth fight coming in. American Goons are very aware. They're still grouped around this bot, but the slow push is coming.
There we go. Isla, he's just staying frontlined here at the Tide. You've always got the backup of the Pangolier ready to go whenever. Bit of a wraparound now from American Goons. These Plague Wards from Sanctified proving to be just so annoying. And they get away with another tier 1 tower. Like American Goons, they try their best to hold on to it, but it is not going to work out in their favor. So it's going to be an immediate smoke now from CDUB, heading towards the Dire Triangle. Wards down. Into the mid lane they go. They're going to see Lil Nick, and poor old Lil Nick, he's been a bit of a sitting duck this whole game. And it's not going to change anytime soon by the looks of it. He is down. So we do look for a little bit more here with this Pangolier Rolling Thunder. Does run right into Esk, but ends up just stealing a neutral camp off him. Obviously, he can't go for the kill on his own. But you know what they can do, John? They can go after a mid-tier 2 tower.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Tidehunter, Meteor Hammer, plus Nether Blast. This does not take too long, along with the Deity of Mork. So you're clearing out the map real fast. You're really keeping up that suppression on Boris, preventing the Morphling from having too much space to farm up in. I mean, the Manta's nice and all on the Morph, but we were talking about it in draft. The big timing for this hero where the core-to-core sites feel a lot better is something like your Ags timing. That's still a long ways off here for Boris, even if that's if he even wants to rush the Ags. There could be an argument now for maybe an earlier Scotty, just to have more stats overall, have that durability, have that safety net of more mana so you don't get instantly burned down by a couple of swashes out from Mark. Making moves mid.
The bottom lane though. Bit of an attempt here onto Duster, though Duster's proving to be quite tanky here. Again, not going down. Jabei's going to try for the TP out, but will not be able to make it. The Disruptor's down once again. At the very least, you get Boris out safely, so there's that kind of a little win there for our Disruptor. Jabei again, not having the best game, but his only objective is to make sure Boris is having a decent time. So CDUB, there's only one outer tower left. They're just going to head down towards the bottom tier 2. And there's really just not much in the way of stopping them here. Isla's just too tanky. Duster's right behind him with the life drain if he needs it. And you've always got the threat of the Rolling Thunder to come out from Mark if you do jump in. So it's just such a hard team fight for the goons to take against CDUB. And again, I just don't know how they're going to defend this tier 2 tower. If CDUB fully commit for it, it's as good as gone. Here we go. Glimpse back. Mark popping the Rolling Thunder a bit early on, but he does end up finding Jabei at the least. Jabei trying to juke out the Rolling Thunder is going to connect again from Mark, but Jabei has made it. Nobody else jumping in for the fight apart from Mark will mean that nobody gets caught out here on Goons.
Yeah, but they're still getting that slow chip away at that last outer tower. Even without the Meteor Hammer, Nether Blast does the job quite nicely here from Duster. So just going to look for that objective play. And the issue with American Goons draft is that there's no hard teamfight control outside of Static Storm. Jubei has to nail that every single time for them to have a fighting chance in these engagements. Maybe you could look for an Ancient Seal into your Mystic Flare, but you don't really have the best hold to kind of deal with that as well. Just makes it really hard for the side of Goons to find anything. It all kind of stems down to this Venomancer flex pick. Right, they picked the Venom, we expected support with the Disruptor. Instead, they last pick a Skywrath Mage for Giant. And what do you do in this game? You know, it's like you don't have team fight. You have really good sustained damage. You have really good single target damage with Ancient Seal, but you don't have any way of tying that in together. Whereas for the side of CDUB, they don't even need to force any of these fights. They just go for objectives. They know they won't be punished. You are getting some recovery for Boris out. He is farming up top. Pretty far away from the action, pretty far away from where CDUB is currently focusing in on. But with no outer towers left, their map has shrunk. Control is in favor of CDUB for sure, and they could gun for Roshan if they wanted to.
They may. Roshan gonna get started here from Mark. Doesn't seem like Goons are going to be in a position where they can fight this. Instead, they're going to try and push out the top wave and try to force a retreat here from CDUB. CDUB, though, comfortably taking this Roshan. Not going to take too much longer. And with the Aegis coming up on Double King, an even easier time now for CDUB to just start running at the side of the American Goons as they go right through the Twin Gates. Up top lane, Giant was showing on the creep wave for a moment. They know the Skywrath is going to be there. Mark will jump in. He'll see Giant immediately, and it's a nice free kill for them if they have a stun. Sanctified looking for the stun, but no. He gets the Plague Ward down instead, not having the vision. And sadly, nobody ran in to actually give Sanctified the vision to lift, so a bit of a mistake. Forcing him to put the Plague Ward down to try to get the vision himself.
They miss out on an opportunity, but not the biggest kill to miss out on that Skywrath Mage anyway. That does give a bit of an opportunity for Jubei in trying to look for that play that we saw last time. They might have to commit Static Storm only onto the one, but it's a guaranteed kill with the Ancient Seal and Kinetic Field at least, if they find it.
Here we go, Mark. Rolling Thunder. Not going to catch anyone out, so a bit of a whiffed ability there from Mark. Still mid lane, Jabei. They whiff the Rolling Thunder, but Jabei just kind of walks in and hands them the kill. And maybe he just felt bad.
Maybe he did, you know? He sees the ult, he's like, yeah, you deserve a consolation prize, have me. That does cost them the rupture as well on the side of CDUB, but not the longest cooldown in the world to expend. And now they have that opening for the high ground with one man down. That is the big hero you actually want to care about. Again, the Disruptor is pretty much all your team fight here, all your team fight control. Without that threat of the Static Storm, you're just free to Nether Blast and Meteor Hammer away here.
Here we go. T3 tower. Slowly but surely going down.
Oh!
Ravage is out. Isla catching a couple. Looks like they're on to both supports. Lil Nick in trouble as well. On the pos 3, Veno is still going to make it. Though Duster is chasing. He wants the kill. They do land the swashbuckle, but he had the stick charge, so he does make it out. Rather, the Guardian Greaves is what kept him alive. Is now Duster. Life drain back in onto Jabay, but Esk is going to show up trying to claim his life. They will get him. Duster overextending. He's going to pay for it with his life. They got the mid tier 3 tower, but they probably could have afforded to stick around for more had they not dived tier 4s. Stubble King, BKB away with the TP. You know, I must admit, I really dislike the fact that all the spell animations still show through BKB now.
Yeah.
Because it makes you second guess everything that you're watching.
Yeah, it's really funky when you do see that. Debuff immunity in general is just a little bit strange in comparison to good old spell immunity monk, but you know, I'm sure at some point we'll get out of beta and it will be fixed up at some point. Unlike this game, this game's pretty hard for the side of the goons to fix their way now and try to sort out their issues. Like we're seeing Boris have to build a BKB on Morphling. That's just not something you want to see on your Morph. Sure, debuff immunity is big here, but you still have Rupture that's going to cause you issues if Double King just saves it, preventing the Morphling from getting the chase down he might want in the middle of these engagements. And I don't know if that's enough. You know, we were talking about Scott, we were talking about Ags. None of these timings are just there for Boris. And at the least, he's caught up a little bit in that word, but that high ground push, it's going to start. Even if it's not a full committal, just Nether Blast and Meteor Hammer is more than enough.
Yeah, that it certainly is. The CDUB. Still going for more now. And Lil Nick trying to make it as hard as possible here with all these Plague Wards. Static Storm was dropped. Jabay trying to at least catch out Duster. Has got the Panga, or rather the Pugna locked down. Speaking of the Pango though, Double King has rushed in with Mark. The Double King, I believe, ruptured himself because of the Lotus Orb. So he will lose the Aegis. Bit of a messy engagement as Giant now goes down. S jumping in on the Timber. Still, Boris going to help out. Mark dropping very, very low. Boris now the one in danger himself in the Morphling. So he will try to run, but there's your big Ravage. Isla just holding on to it the whole time. And Boris is going to drop. Now rushing for more. Double King going to find Giant. They even found Esk on the Timber. No buybacks available. I don't know whether it's worth calling GG here, but you could just go for Megas. I think you have the time.
Yeah, you can just go for the creeps. There's no real threat here from the side of the goons. Like Static Storm, half a minute away. They used it just to kill off a Pugna. Sure, Duster's pretty big in these fights, but that was Static Storm and the BKB usage from Boris to kill off that Pugna. So the re-engage just really awkward for the side of goons. And now there's just nothing to stop this high ground.
Well, there goes your bottom racks. Let's see if CDUB do feel confident enough to stick around for the final. Double King is dropping quite low. Life Drain is there from Duster, but it's not doing much through the Spirit Vessel. It's waveform forward. Double King does still get away with the 4 stuffs. Now the turnaround is there. Boris copying a Rupture. Probably not going to be able to chase. Meanwhile, Isla just going for a TP out. Is going to make it. They could not land the adaptive strike in time from Boris. At least the goons are still in the game. But they are 2 racks down, and there is no real big sign of recovery here on their side.
No, it's going to be a while. The Ag Scotty timing is really what we're looking for from Boris. BKB from S could help the cause. He's had a lot of impact on the terms of really good Lotus Orb usage as well to just prevent Boris, prevent Double King from just getting complete control in these fights. But again, it takes a while for this game to simplify for the side of the goons. And for the side of CDUB, well, they're just running down. Full Mjolnir up on Double King. So even if you do get the Ags down the line here from Boris, the 70 attack speed just basically removes the Mjolnir bonus. And a little bit of Agi is not going to be enough to really dissuade Double King from the middle of these fights. And Double King is going for his own basher into the Scotty now. He's going to have a lot more control and a lot more stats to leverage. Lots more durability up in these fights when they do break out. A 16k lead for the side of CDUB, 24-8. And the side of Goons, again, it's just so hard for them to take these fights. Heck, we're seeing Lil Nick go for the Ags and Venomancer, which again is probably one of the strangest Ags in that you don't necessarily, you know, ideally, if you're winning, you don't want to die, but you're at the point where you accept that you're going to die in the Venom. Might as well have some impact after that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't quite blame him. Like, I don't know what else he can really go for here to turn this game around in the offlane Venom. It's kind of hard to see anything, any itemization turning this game around here from Lil Nick's end. The big issue is, like, this Morphling just has not had a game. The laning stage was just horrific for him, and CDUB have just done a fantastic job of just controlling the pace of this game one so darn well. Goons are still trying to buy more and more time for their morph to farm up. You do have some decent high ground defense here with the Veno Skyrath. But Isla, he's just patiently waiting for the Meteor Hammer each time. And the sad reality is, unless you glimpse him back, you can't actually cancel it. Like, there's just no stuns here.
Yeah, no control. Like, I think going back to Lil Nick with his build, if he maybe went for a different build than the Spirit Vessel Guardian Reeves, let's say a Rod of Atos into Gleipnir as the offlane Venom, I think that's where we see that hero shine the best as a core, leveraging some of that universal damage type here.
I don't think he could have, not after that laning stage. Jabei's going to go down. S going to move in, Sanctified going to be targeted, but does force staff away. Is now Boris ruptured up, trying to fight within the BKB, but just taking so much damage. Is forced the waveform in the end and just TP away. Boris still able to make it out. Lil Nick, maybe not so lucky though. Lil Nick is going to be the one to go down, but he does at least hold buyback. So he probably will be forced to commit that rather soon here from CDUB's end, but there's actually a 4-man smoke. Ravage is up, by the way.
Hey.
Double King's still got a BKB. He's going to pop it. They can't hold him down right now. In fact, Esk is taking so much damage, and the Ravage going to hold them down. GG. It was just a desperation smoke to see if they could pull off some miracle. That was not the case, though. They are gone. Game one goes the way of CDUB.
A rough game out for the Goons. Like, the laning phase just...